What if a single day could destroy a man's soul and forge an empire? February 14th, 1884, Valentine's Day. A day celebrating love becomes the day Theodore Roosevelt loses everything. In a Manhattan mansion, two women lie dying in separate rooms while a desperate 25-year-old races through a blizzard to reach them. This tragedy will create the Theodore Roosevelt the world knows, the Rough Rider, the president, the face on Mount Rushmore. But the price was almost too terrible to bear. New York City in February 1884 is a city of stark contrasts. Gas lamps flicker against elegant brownstone facades on Fifth Avenue, while just blocks away, immigrant families crowd into dark tenements. The Roosevelt Mansion at 6th West 57th Street represents everything old New York values: old money, old power, established prestige. Inside its walls, mahogany furniture gleams under crystal chandeliers. Persian rugs muffle footsteps on marble floors. Velvet curtains frame tall windows that look out over snow-covered streets where horse-drawn carriages clatter past. Tonight, this house of privilege has become a house of death. Theodore Roosevelt is 70 miles away in Albany, serving his second term in the New York State Assembly. At 25 years old, he has already earned a reputation as an incorruptible reformer, a wealthy man's son who refuses to play the usual political games of bribes and backroom deals. His colleagues call him a crusader. His enemies call him self-righteous. Theodore doesn't care. He knows his future is limitless. He has a beautiful wife waiting at home, Alice Lee Roosevelt, whom he calls Sunshine for her radiant personality and golden blonde hair. 3 years ago, Theodore courted her relentlessly during his Harvard years, writing passionate letters, showing up uninvited at her family's home, refusing to accept no for an answer. When she finally agreed to marry him, Theodore wrote in his diary, "I am so happy that I dare not trust in my own happiness." Just 2 days earlier, on February 12th, Alice gave birth to their first child, a daughter. Theodore received the telegram while on the assembly floor. "It's a girl," the message read. He celebrated with colleagues, buying drinks, accepting congratulations, planning to return home in a few days to meet his daughter and embrace his wife. Then comes the second telegram, delivered to Theodore's desk on the afternoon of February 13th. The words are few but devastating. "Come home immediately. Both mother and wife gravely ill." Theodore's heart stops. Both? How can both be ill? He abandons everything, the legislative session, his duties, his papers scattered across his desk, and runs to catch the next train. But the journey from Albany to New York City, normally just a few hours, becomes an agonizing eternity. A massive blizzard has descended on the Northeast, one of the worst storms in decades. Snow piles high on the tracks. Wind howls against the train cars, rocking them violently. The train moves forward in painful increments, stopping frequently to clear snow from the rails. Theodore sits rigid in his seat, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turn white. He stares out the window at the swirling snow, willing the train to move faster. He doesn't know exactly what awaits him at home, but dread sits heavy in his chest, a cold weight that makes it hard to breathe. He tries to calculate possibilities. Perhaps his mother has caught influenza. Perhaps Alice has had some complication from childbirth. Surely the doctors can help them. Surely modern medicine can save them. Surely this is just a scare, and when he arrives home, he'll find them weak but recovering. The train finally pulls into Grand Central Terminal near midnight on February 14th. Theodore leaps from the car before it fully stops and runs through the station, out into the blizzard. He hails a carriage. The driver fights through snow-choked streets to West 57th. Every minute feels like an hour. When Theodore bursts through the front door of his family's mansion, he knows immediately that something terrible has happened. The house is too quiet, too still. Gas lamps burn low in their sconces, casting long shadows across the marble entryway. His brother Elliot appears at the top of the stairs, his face pale and drawn. There is a curse on this house. Elliot is dying, and Alice is dying too. Theodore's world tilts. The floor seems to shift beneath his feet. He grabs the banister to steady himself. Both? The word comes out as barely more than a whisper. His sister Corinne appears behind Elliot, tears streaming down her face. She nods, unable to speak. Theodore forces himself to move. He climbs the stairs, each step heavier than the last. Upstairs, his mother, Martha Bullock Roosevelt, everyone calls her Mitty, lies in her bedroom, consumed by typhoid fever. She is only 48 years old, a Southern belle who married into New York aristocracy, beloved by all 4 of her children for her warmth, her charm, her gentle spirit that softened their stern father's discipline. Typhoid fever is a brutal disease. It attacks with relentless fever, delirium, weakness that drains every ounce of strength from its victims. Mitty has been fighting it for a week, her temperature climbing higher each day, her moments of lucidity growing shorter. When Theodore enters her room, she barely recognizes him. Her skin burns with fever, her breath comes in short, labored gasps. Theodore takes his mother's hand. It's so hot it almost burns his palm. "Mother," he whispers, "Theodore is here." Mitty's eyes flutter open. For a brief moment, clarity returns. She sees her eldest son, the one who was always so intense, so driven, so determined to make his mark on the world. She tries to speak, but the fever steals her words. Theodore holds her hand, tells her he loves her, promises everything will be all right, even though he can see that nothing will ever be all right again. At 3 a.m. on February 15th, Martha Bullock Roosevelt dies in his son's arms. The fever finally releases her. Her breathing stops. Her hand goes limp in Theodore's grip. He sits there, holding his mother's body, unable to process what just happened. But there is no time to grieve, because downstairs, Alice is dying too. Theodore forces himself to stand. He gently lays his mother's hand across her chest and walks out of the room like a man in a dream, moving through thick fog, everything distant and unreal. He descends the stairs to the first-floor bedroom where Alice lies unconscious. The scene that greets him is his worst nightmare made real. Alice lies in the bed they shared as newlyweds, the bed where they whispered their dreams for the future, where they talked about the children they would have, the life they would build together. Her golden hair spreads across the white pillow like a halo. Her face, usually so full of life and mischief, is deathly pale. Her breathing is shallow and irregular. Doctors stand around the bed, but Theodore can see in their faces that there is nothing they can do. In 1884, medical science has no cure for what is killing Alice. What everyone thought was just the normal aftermath of childbirth was actually masking a far serious condition. Alice has Bright's disease, a severe kidney ailment that has been slowly destroying her body for months. Pregnancy accelerated the disease, and childbirth triggered the final crisis. Her kidneys are failing. Toxins are building in her bloodstream. She slips deeper into unconsciousness with each passing hour. Theodore dismisses the doctors. He climbs into bed beside his wife and pulls her into his arms, cradling her against his chest. She is so cold. He tries to warm her with his body heat, as if his will alone might be enough to keep her alive. He talks to her, though she cannot hear. He tells her about their daughter, how beautiful she is, how she has Alice's golden hair. He tells her about the house he is building for them in Oyster Bay, overlooking the water. He tells her about all the years they'll have together, all the children they'll raise, all the happiness waiting for them. He begs her not to leave. For 11 hours, Theodore holds his dying wife. Dawn comes, pale light filtering through lace curtains. The blizzard outside finally stops. The house falls silent except for Alice's labored breathing. Theodore whispers to her, strokes her hair, refuses to let her go. At 2 in the afternoon on February 15th, Alice Lee Roosevelt dies in Theodore's arms. She is 22 years old. Her daughter is 3 days old. Theodore feels Alice's breath stop. He feels the last flutter of her heartbeat against his chest. For a long moment, he simply holds her, unable to accept what just happened. In the space of 11 hours, he has lost his mother and his wife. The 2 women who meant everything to him are gone.